All right, let's get going. Well, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Clarity Conversations, where we're going to start helping you continue the process of shifting the mindset from chasing and supporting symptoms first to taking a systems first approach. I'll pull up my slide here really quick. Window, boom, share. Okay, great. Perfect. Well, last week we learned a lot about the causes of chronic itching, why symptoms first approaches only provide temporary relief, and then I showed you the skin wellness system support and approach to supporting long term skin wellness in your dogs. That's why today's clarity conversation is an interactive workshop. Today, we're going to start connecting the dots together. So grab your notebook and your pen. And for those who are watching the playback, these exercises are designed so that you can do them with us. Just pause me now and go grab a notebook and a pen. Okay, let's dive in. And don't worry, I'm doing these exercises alongside you using a recent client of mine as an example. So on your notepad, draw 3 columns on your paper. At the top, top left column, write inside out. At the top of the second column, write outside in. And then at the top of the third column, write targeted support. Don't worry if this starts to feel like a lot of information. We're not trying to solve everything today. In fact, next week, we're going to tackle one of the biggest questions I hear. Where do I even start? So let's start with my favorite, nutrition or inside out. First, write down the proteins your dog eats most often. Everybody done? Next, write down the primary fat sources if you know them. And then list the main foods or treats they get on a regular basis. Don't worry about whether any of these are deemed good or bad at this point. Right now, we're just collecting clues. We done? Let's move on. Excuse me. Anything jumping out to you already? If not, either way is okay. So now let's move on to outside in. Let's think about everything you're seeing that's happening on the outside of your dog. I've provided some clues in this column. If any of these are jumping out at you and they're happening within your dog, go ahead and write any of those down. Or if there's anything else that you're noticing, write that down as well. Then, underneath those, write down everything that you've tried to support the skin directly. And again, no judgment, just observations. I've also put some, helper text on here to help maybe get the thought process going. Again, no judgment or observations here whatsoever. And maybe place a circle or put a star by anything that has helped. And if it has, for how long? Now, finally, in the third column, targeted support, let's write down everything else you've tried or that you're currently using. I've jotted down a few examples here, maybe as a thinking springboard for you as well again. Again, please resist the urge to assess good or bad at this point. We're just collecting information right now. Is everybody finished? Great. So now I'd really like everyone to just stop writing. We're done with this portion of the exercise. Now, let's reflect. Take a look at your page. Before today, have you ever looked at all of those things together? Most of us haven't or hadn't until today. We think about food separately. We think about medications separately. We think about symptoms separately. We think about treats that maybe we've thrown into the mix separately, but your dog's body doesn't separate any of them. Everything to your dog's body is connected. That's what I mean when I say things like, let's connect the dots. So, using the recent client example that I mentioned and looking at all of this together, here's what I'm noticing. I'm going to go to the next slide because I've actually filled this out before this workshop. So again, using this recent client example, I just want to make a few observations of some of the things that I'm noticing. Inside out, nutritional building blocks. I'm noticing that there are very few omega-3 rich foods or fats in the right kind of omega-3s needed for skin repair and inflammatory regulation. And also, I'm noticing that whoopsie, sorry about that. Two of the top protein allergens are being fed on a regular basis, and that's chicken and beef. Now, I'm not saying every dog is going to react to beef or chicken or that they're allergic to beef or chicken, but these are two of the top most prevalent protein allergies in dogs. So I pay attention to that when I see it happening regularly in their food. I'm noticing also that there are no nutrient dense whole food carbohydrates, nor are there any grains or oatmeal. Again, we're not placing good or bad or judgments on anything at this point. I just want to start making observations. For outside in, I'm noticing that even though, yeah, we've got all the usual suspects, itching, hot spots, bald spots, raw paws, skin tags was interesting, an occasional picky eating. What I'm noticing is that even though this client is being very diligent about bathing and cleaning their dog, the itching has been going on for years now. And when I take that in consideration with everything else in the next column, we'll get to that later. Given that the itching has been happening for years now, that really signals to me that there may be toxins stuck deep within the skin that don't belong. And we may need to consider therapeutic bathing to this client's system. Finally, let's move over to the third column. I'm noticing that this client has tried several therapies, and maybe they've helped temporarily, but the itching has kept returning again and again. I'm seeing that they've tried Apoquel, Benadryl, and then some some natural things such as digestive enzymes, and colloidal silver and calendula tea to try to start calm the skin. But none of those have really worked long term. So you may already be noticing a few or a dozen things that you'd like to change already. I'd like to ask you to please resist that urge for now. Because one of the most valuable things we'll talk about next week is how to decide what needs attention first. So once we've connected the dots, the next question really becomes how do we begin supporting the systems that may be struggling? And this is where my skin wellness system approach really comes in. Not a product, but rather an approach that I take with clients to helping them build an optimum skin wellness system for their individual pet. So, for example, in the skin wellness system, how do we support the systems that might be struggling? For example, what nutritional building blocks are we giving our dog so that they have what they need to repair and the skin barrier? What nutritional building blocks are we giving our dog to reduce and prevent inflammation? And then again, what nutritional building blocks are we giving our dog to help their immune system really respond appropriately? Second part of the system is outside in, as we discussed before in the chart. And that's really about eliminating toxins that are trapped deep within the skin. For example, what direct skin support are we providing to cleanse out toxins that don't belong in the skin? And what direct to skin support are we providing to soothe irritation and protect the skin from the outside irritants? Lastly, what targeted support, nutritional support, is being provided to help the immune system respond appropriately? What targeted support is being provided to really to control that inflammation? Because remember, we're really not trying to, we're not just trying to stop the itch today. We're not just trying to find one magic ingredient, food, supplement, or shampoo. What we're trying to do here through this system is we're trying to build a stronger and more resilient dog, not just stop the itch today, because I know we all want to bring comfort to our dog. Nobody wants to see our dog suffering. But what we really want to be focusing on is helping make your dog harder to make itch tomorrow and beyond. So if today gave you a clearer picture, then next week is about turning that clarity into confidence. And I'll walk you through how to prioritize what should be addressed first, what can and should wait, and how to avoid the overwhelm that comes from trying to tackle everything at once. I hope you'll join me. And I also want you to know something else. You don't have to figure all of this out on your own. Sorry about that. You don't have to figure all of this out on your own. Wherever you are in your dog's skin wellness journey, there are a few different ways that I can help. So, for example, if you're still gathering information, go to my website. I've provided the links on the screen here. I'll leave these up for a few moments to download the free resources that I have on my website, and or join next week's clarity conversation, as I just mentioned a moment ago. If you're in a spot where you're really looking for some personalized help, you may be dealing with this for a long time. You feel like you've tried everything from the shampoos to the treats to switching foods to medication and supplements. And you're really looking for personalized help and finally connecting the dots and getting some answers. Go ahead and use the QR code that's on the screen to book a complimentary clarity call with me. And some of you may be ready to take action today. Maybe you're still experimenting with some different foods or adding some supplements into the mix. So, if you're ready to take action, go ahead and explore some of the pre researched food, treats, and supplements that are products that I trust. And these collections are all designed by me to support my skin wellness system. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was valuable for you in helping you begin to connect some of those dots on chronic itching in your dogs. This community cares so deeply about their fur babies, and I just so honor you for that. Give them an extra ear scritch and a cuddle from me tonight. And really, I hope to see you on next week's Thrive Naturally Clarity Conversation, where we're going to take the next step and dive into how to decide where to actually start. And please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can get notified of other helpful videos, tools, and resources.